Cuban drama goes on. At Port Everglades, Florida, the Shirley Lykes takes on 7,000 tons of supplies bound for Havana, providing Movietone's Emil Montemuro with the opportunity to film another bitter chapter in that unhappy story. This short visit to Castro's Cuba will produce pictures from the sorry island that show how it is fared as another of Moscow's captive states. After passing Morro Castle, the fortress that in days of yore guarded the city called the Paris of the New World, we find Soviet ships, attesting to Cuba's conquest by communist imperialism. At her pier, with her ransom cargo so vital to Cuba's people, armed guards attend the Shirley Lykes, check every item that emerges from her hold. It was not so long ago that Cuba, the pearl of the Antilles, was a different kind of country. Her hotels a mecca for carefree tourists who flocked from around the Western world, where thousands tanned themselves under the Caribbean sun. An influx of pleasure seekers that contributed millions to the island's economy. Dancing was the order of the day and night. In Havana's cafes, Cubans and their visitors reveled in an atmosphere of relaxation and conviviality. At carnival time, the peace-loving and good-natured Cubans danced and sang and played around the clock. Then Castro came, and the sounds of joy were submerged by the sound of shooting. Castro convinced the Cuban people he was their liberator, and they freely gave him the reins of government, a free hand that he betrayed when he announced he was a Marxist, dedicated to making the island a communist state. A chagrined free world saw Castro's militia, armed by Iron Curtain weapons, brutally enforce his dictatorship. Russian equipment now floods the island. Our cameraman was hustled past all sites that showed damning evidence of the Soviet military presence. And Havana's deserted main arteries reveal that pleasure motoring there is virtually a thing of the past. Residential sections are strangely quiet. Red-starred trucks roll freely. The schools were open to our cameraman, and he found that Castro is following the Soviet line here as well. Russian, taught by imported Soviet teachers, is an important subject on the Red Dictator's new curriculum, directed at intensive communist indoctrination. This is a girls' dormitory, and the students came out en masse to get their pictures taken. Your Movietone lensman was then escorted to the sugarcane fields. Castro wants to dispel rumors that they have been sabotaged. The Cuban guides permitted these shots of a supermarket. There is no fresh bread or meat on sale, only jars and tins of goods from Red China and Russia. This patched road reveals that mines had been prepared for possible invaders. For communist patrols, Burp guns are standard equipment. For amusement, the motion picture fair is Soviet propaganda. armed militia, men and women, have taken over the beats of Havana's once good-natured police force. Our cameraman was also allowed to film this new drama of Cuban refugees. 1,170 men, women, and children given Castro's permission to leave their homeland if they would sacrifice virtually all their material possessions to him. Most of these victims of the Red Dictator are relatives of the Cuban freedom fighters released earlier. There are also 200 hardship cases needing medical attention not available on the island. The hold of the Shirley Lykes, which carried the ransom goods to the island, is the compartment for the voyagers on their trip to the United States. There were 253 children on board. The Red Cross furnished food and sleeping equipment. It's now a sad goodbye to their once happy island, though in their future there is this banner of hope.